we're 7:01 p.m. on Tuesday, September 8, 2020. I'll call to order the meeting of the Evanston Preservation Commission. We have a quorum. We have 8 of the 9 members. As the first matter of business, we have to vote to suspend the rules to allow electronic participation, the meeting to be conducted electronically. And as a reminder for the commissioners, we now, under the Illinois law, have to do a roll call vote on each matter that we approve. Would somebody like to move to approve electronic meeting?
I move that we suspend the rules in order to allow a virtual meeting and in accordance with all the requirements of state law.
A second.
A second. All right, so all in, no, we have to do the vote. So I'm going to, Commissioner Reinhold.
Aye.
Elliot.
Aye.
Jamie.
Aye.
Jamie.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Beth.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Ken. Ken?
Ken Hazlett?
No.
There's another Ken, huh? Oh yeah, Ken, I got it.
Ken is there, but he's probably not listening or hearing.
He's playing freeze tag.
Ken, wave to him.
He looks
I
frozen.
think he's frozen.
He's
Yeah.
from.
That's
He's
just
frozen.
Either that or he's very serious right now.
no, that's just his background.
All right, well, let's declare the motion. We'll declare you abstain. The motion carried 8 to 0 to 1. All right, so for the,
Now we lost him completely.
he's probably just trying to get back in. All right, so for the applicants and the members of the public who haven't attended these meetings, generally we'll have each applicant representatives identify themselves and then present their application. And you can direct Scott Mangum as to, I think advancing the slides and present any other materials you'd like. And then we'll have, the commissioners can question the applicant. We'll let any members of the public speak, discussion by the commission, and then vote by the commissioners. So the first matter of business is 2330 Orrington Avenue.
Mark, the update was that 1111 Hinman was postponed by the applicant able to this meeting, but the applicant is not ready. So it's moved until further notice, just the 1111 business.
Do we have to make a motion, Carlos?
I don't see it on the agenda.
I would assume that we can make to, continue to the next meeting, but we don't know if he will. That would be the second time that I'm sure then we will have to again for the next time.
So you want us to continue it to October 13th,
Continue.
Carlos? Yes.
Carlos, it's not on the agenda. Do you want us to move to continue it?
It's on a
It's on
different
the
agenda.
agenda. I sent an updated agenda earlier.
Yeah. And you show it continued, right?
So Carlos, you just want us to make a motion to continue it to October 13th,
To
correct?
continue to October, right? Correct.
Okay. So I move to continue 1111 Hinman Avenue to the October 13th meeting.
Second?
I second.
Okay. We have to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Reinhold,
Aye.
Elliot,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Ken,
Well, you said Ken. What's going on?
No, I guess we still don't have, then I'm in favor. So again, it's unanimously in favor. All right. So then, I'm sorry if I don't have an updated agenda. So then it's 2330 Orrington Avenue. Is the applicant I saw present, I believe.
Yes, I'm here.
Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Sure. My name is Mike Hauser. I'm the architect of 2330, the work that we're doing at 2330 Orrington. What you're looking at here on the screen is a letter. I trust everyone's read it. I can cover, what this says in brief, but the project was essentially to replace the east-facing windows on the second and third floor of a house in the historic district. We had some trouble getting contact with both the Historic Preservation Commission and the building department in just moving it all forward. That's what the letter says. Basically, we had months of idle. The overlapping complexity here is that the family really needed to move back in to these rooms for when school started. So the clock was ticking when we when we began the submission process in May. I actually fully submitted all the things in June. And it was a couple of weeks ago where we got a stop work order because we had moved forward with the work and received the stop work order. So here we are. This is, like I said in the first paragraph, you can't talk about this without COVID. Everybody's upside down, including myself. I tried to make the decisions that I thought that the commission would appreciate. And in the vacuum of communication, I reached out to several people who were either on the commission in years past or Jonathan, what's in the Marvin Historic District, or the Marvin Historic representative, Jonathan Fine, who used to be with the city of Chicago. I took all advice. I talked to several reps, et cetera, about what possibly could be one of the more easier approvals, what type of window, what brand of window. And we settled with the Marvin, G2 aluminum clad windows. They're brand new windows. They're not inserts. And they go in, they went in during the work on that facade, which was to replace the buckling stucco and the degrading half timbering so that everything would be flashed up tight. Again, in this situation, I take full responsibility for this. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think if there's anything to question, it's the use of aluminum clad windows instead of wood in this situation. To that, I would point out that this is a facade that was degrading faster than any other facade. It's a an east-facing window facade with a large overhang. A tall overhang. There you go. And you can see in the shadow lines of the stucco that it's buckling from water penetration. It's seen more abuse from the weather than any other facade. And the work initially was to replace the stucco and half timbering. Again, we have the other facades to use as an example, so everything should have gone smoothly. But in removing the stucco and investigating, we discovered that the window, not just the windows were out of plumb, they weren't true anymore because they were receiving so much water damage. The frames themselves had shown signs of multiple water issues over the years. There is evidence on the floor inside the rooms of problems, as well as underneath the windowsills. So we upgraded as we were doing this to bulletproof this facade to give it a healthier life moving on forward down the road. There were a couple other decisions, and I'm happy to answer all these. I don't want to belabor the point on this, so I'll just turn it over to the commission if that's okay, and you can ask questions.
I mean, could you just show us the work that you're doing?
Sure. If you go back to the facade picture, there are 8 windows total. They're on the second and third floor of this facade. There are casement windows to the left and, well, I should start in the middle. They're all double hungs except for the 2 casements. And those are double casements. They are in swinging double casements in an existing sense. We replaced those with out swinging double casements. And the double hungs are, identical in their function and their dimensions. The other part of the work is the stucco and the half timbering on this facade.
So basically, okay, I just want to be clear. So whatever happened, which I do have a question for Carlos about that, but you're asking for forgiveness in a way because the work is already kind of done and we're looking at it and you somehow got all screwed up and you didn't get a certificate of appropriateness, right?
More or less. Well, yeah.
Somehow.
The work is well underway.
Uh-huh.
We had received nothing from Historic on this for acknowledgement of our submission, and my experience with other departments in the building department, as I'm sure all the architects on the commission know, is that things have been very upside down and projects have been in a holding pattern. And in this particular example, these are the 2 bedrooms that the homeowners would be moving back into when it started.
No, I understand. I don't know. Can I just ask Carlos, I'm sorry to belabor this, but because we have been seeing, I don't have, and maybe I don't know, have things been held up because we've been reviewing? So can you just help us? I'd like to just understand what happened in this instance. Carlos, do you have any insight? Are you there?
The problem, okay, because my communication is bad, but unfortunately, I did not get to email until he contacted me later, and he notified me that he has sent an email, which I did open at the time, and I didn't. At that point, I did contacted Ken and to let them know that I received this application for administrator. They looked at the application and they decided that the commission should review. And then after that, it was a Friday, I got from one of the inspectors saying that this put on hold or stop. That's when I became aware that it's actually going on the site. I know Mike has been trying to all the information that is necessary to continue with the process.
Okay.
I guess in part, I feel responsible that email and I still look on time.
Okay, thank you.
Am I correct that you not only don't have an approval and a certificate of appropriateness, but right now you don't have a building permit either?
We're doing, not for this work, no. As I reviewed the online submission, it had made it through building department. So my assumption was, and there for window replacement, the egress compliant windows that, so I saw no issue. I predicted no issue from the building department.
Right, but so you don't have but in order, you have to, whatever. You don't have, it sounds like you don't have a permit because you didn't get the
We don't.
COA because something got screwed up. And so is that why there's a stop work order
That's correct.
now because of all of that? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Stop
I'm
work order
sorry.
because He doesn't have a permit, not because he didn't do preservation.
Right.
Right.
Okay, and just to confirm, the stucco is just a replacement in kind, and we're simply approving the windows? Is that correct, Carlos?
Well, that would be correct. I mean, there would be considered a repair and replacement or repairing kind. The difference here is the material that is visible, which is the aluminum clad versus the old wood.
Yeah.
Everything else matches with, difference in terms of the total maybe glass area, but it's very close to, because he's doing full replacement rather than insert, to my understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
This would have been approved if he was not doing the aluminum clad. According to the rules, it's a change of material, not design, that is
Right.
prompting the review by the commission.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions from commissioners?
Yeah, can you, hi, this is Commissioner Bodan. Can you just explain the work with the leaded windows and the extra note that you had about the application? And just, are they new, true divided, like leaded glass?
No, they're simulated divided lights.
Okay,
It's a dual paned window with a LED applied to the exterior of the glass. These are the new, I believe.
I thought your letter was saying that you decided to apply it to the interior. No?
To the interior only. The rep that I'm working with at Marvin, Bill Goodman, said, they've gone down this path in the past where they've done both sides, and from really anywhere, when you look at that with a dual paned window, it creates too much shadow line, and it's very busy. Actually, the effect is completely lost because there's too many lines at different planes.
Mm-hmm.
We chose to do it on the inside.
Did you consider, why replace the leaded glass windows?
So those the casement windows
Mm-hmm.
were, and some of these pictures will indicate, were not closing correctly, not closing completely. There were gaps in the window. These are the new ones. These are the new ones also. But they were also in swinging, and it was, I think, pretty obvious that this was a real weak spot of the system and of the window selection. The casement windows were, they're beautiful. They were just failing, and the weather had warped them to the point where they would not close anymore. And the frames were damaged as well. The frames showed signs of a lot of water just sitting on the frames.
Okay, so there is a significant architectural feature on the primary facade of the building that you replaced with a double glazed window with an applied LED feature without considering preserving the original feature and installing like a protective glazing or something, since they were in swinging.
Yes, at this point I don't have the order in front of me, but to do another layer on top of this, the budget was already very high, given what the selection was that, doing the Marvin G2, et cetera, et cetera.
Mike,
Yes,
so the grid is on the interior.
the grid is on the interior, yes.
Did you consider having them inserted between both lights of glass?
We did. It was not, we didn't consider it for very long. The way Marvin makes these is it's a local representative that takes the actual product into his shop. And the way the rep described it, it's more of an art than it is of architecture. So this is a craftsman that does it in his shop. And it's aftermarket applied to the glazing itself.
So can I just, I just want to say something. So this window, the Marvin window, you may not recall, but because my office came before the commission, we did Marvin windows on a addition to a landmark house in Evanston. And we did the other option, which is the both, it was a thermopane window, and on both the interior and exterior, we had it taped so that basically it's a different process, but Marvin sends them out and they get them made and they come back. So this is just a different, you know, they selected just doing the interior. So I mean, I don't think I would ever consider just putting it between two layers of glass, because I don't even think you'd see it. I mean, it wouldn't even,
Well, I disagree.
you know, with all the glare of the windows.
No,
So I probably wouldn't do that. But Marvin has, you know, they do, and anyway, I mean, it looks good to me. So I understand where Commissioner Bowden is coming from. I also understand the complexity of how to restore the leaded glass window and then put a pane in front of it. And if we can't tell now, that's the only problem, what, you know, the shape of that window. Anyway, but so I guess you can see what it looks like, the new windows, because he has the photos. So.
Well, the only thing I was going to say was that I had the experience of putting the lead between the glass. We didn't do it in the manner that you did, Mike. And you can run over to the what used to be known as the Arts Center Coach House, and you can see the windows there. And it was done, it was actually done with a lead tape rather than.
Yeah, that's what this was. I think they're done. You know, I guess it's 3 different versions. So, you know, if we.
They applied it to the glass, Julie, before they sealed it. So it was a
Yeah.
much simpler process, Mike, than somebody soldering individual little frames. Probably would have been a lot cheaper too.
Except, but where is the was it a thermopane window?
These thermopane windows, I was going to hold up a sample of it tonight and I couldn't. figure
Okay.
out where I
Well,
put the office.
it's neither here nor there. There's all these different, I guess, yeah. Anyway, I guess all these different options
It
of,
doesn't matter now because he's already done them.
I know.
We're trying to tell you what you should have done, Mike.
No, I don't know, because I thought those, you know, the photograph of that window, in my opinion, it looked good.
That was
So,
for Commissioner Bowden's sake.
What was that?
Never mind.
All right. Were there any other commissioners with questions? No. Was there any member of the public here to speak about this matter? Any further discussion as to the motion by any commissioner? Would someone like to make a motion to approve? Elliot?
Well, excuse me. I guess I do have a discussion point.
All right, come
Yeah,
on.
go ahead, Beth.
I do have a, so what do we do in this point when we're retroactively doing this? Like, do we engage the fines? I mean, this one, it's lucky the work is still in progress, but we just had a huge issue last meeting where I think we finally wrapped it up, and that was a 20-year process. And I know the circumstances are completely different, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to set a precedent right now with not addressing I mean,
I agree. Yeah, we should, can we make a statement? This is not something that we should be doing retroactively, making a decision on a project. So so can we make that statement if in fact this is approved? Just so that we understand that this is not a precedent we want to send.
Great.
That'd be
Okay.
part of the motion.
Yeah, why don't we? Why don't we?
Thanks.
right. So like, yeah,
And
just a statement, and we don't necessarily have to, invoke the penalties that
Well,
are at our
we're
discretion,
We're
but
not the ones that invoke any penalty anyway. I think it's theoretically, and Mike probably already may have found this out. My guess is it's the building department that may impose a penalty for working without a permit. I'm not quite sure how that's going to go, but it's not, I don't think preservation has a.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
Do
the rules weren't followed, and so there's fines for violations, a penalty for willful violation.
they? Ooh.
I mean, yeah,
Elliot, we didn't even know that.
yeah, it's in
Well,
our,
come on, we're in 3 months, we won't care. Scott, what is the procedure then on the penalty part of it?
That's not within the discretion of the commission themselves, but if there is work done that without a permit or without the approval, so if the commission were not to approve this, then there would be violation notice could be sent. If it was not corrected, it'd go to administrative adjudication hearings, and then the administrative adjudication officer could issue the fees and fines that are within the preservation ordinance.
All right, so it's a function of whether or not we approve it.
Yeah, right.
What you're saying. Okay. All right. Anyway, so I'm not quite sure what I'm adding to the motion. I was starting to move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness for 2330 Orrington Avenue, Northeast Historical District, case 20 Pres 0251, for repair work on the east front facade of the building, incorporating repair of the stucco and half timber work, replacing second floor and attic windows with Marvin clad windows for double hungs, and Marvin Ultimate windows for the casements. And these would include 1/4 inch applied lead, basically pattern with solder joints in a pattern matching the existing windows in a lead lattice pattern to be installed on the interior. And approval of this certificate of appropriateness, let me make this up as we go along, having been approved after much of this work has been done, does not constitute any precedent for any future cases of this sort or this type.
Okay. And I think it's, we just say it's in accordance with applicable standards for alteration 1 through 10
Oh,
and
yes.
demolition 1 through 6.
Thank you.
Okay.
I apologize.
Second. Julie, second. All right. Roll call vote. Susie,
aye.
Elliot,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Beth,
no,
Tim,
Aye.
Ken.
No.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Okay, so the motion carries, was that 6-2? All right, thank you. The next matter is 542 Forest Avenue.
And she's there.
Yeah. I think you're muted.
Mic is on, it needs to be on.
I suppose that's the first step in proceeding well, is being heard. So we are asking for a certificate of appropriateness to replace some double hung windows in what is an existing kitchen, but a tiny kitchen in a house on Forest Avenue. And also relocate an interior stair, which set in motion a number of changes, small changes to the exterior. So if we can skip to the exterior elevations, maybe we start there. The house is, if we could be on the exterior elevate, I'm sorry, the photographs, I apologize. We could start with the photographs. The house is a painted brick bungalow with modest but real kind of arts and crafts thinking. The modifications that have been made to the house over the years, some shed dormers that were made on the north and south and on the west, and then a pergola that appears to not be original, but is certainly the strongest kind of exterior statement that's made on the south side, is something that we were looking to kind of use in the language that where we're replacing the basement stair. So if we move to the plan, if you see in the lower left corner, so the southwest corner, there's an interior stair that leads to the basement and leads to the exterior that makes it really difficult to use the kitchen on more than just the north wall of the kitchen. And so they have a really simple, tiny L-shaped kitchen and are trying to both tie it to their dining room and tie it to the family room. So make this kind of a more modern function. They have a 3-child family. They're very close. They cook a lot. They're always in the kitchen. So being able to tie the living spaces together was important. And the key move in doing that was to take the stairs out of the kitchen. So we took the stairs and tied them, stacked them under the existing stair to the second floor, thus giving the entire south and west corner back to the kitchen. In doing so, we made a galley kitchen on the north and south walls, and involved then the window, two double hungs that were on the south side. Those would be kind of right where the sink is. And so we needed to replace them because the sill would be low, and we'd like to have the sill at the height of the kitchen counters. So we're asking to raise them approximately 10 inches. If we want to go to the elevations, so the existing windows are this kind of asymmetrical divided light, kind of an arts and crafts detail, but very simple on all of the windows. In the front window, we see the outlier, which is this, it's the only fixed window in the house, and it has this kind of horizontal banding language and then this vertical division that we used as the basis to look at a pattern for what the client wanted there, which was a picture window. They want to not look at the mullion, the spread mullion between two windows, but rather to look at their garden when they wash dishes or when they chop vegetables or whatever. So if we can move through the elevations a little bit, to this is the window in question, 2 double hungs. The sink is centered on this. This is the door we are asking to replace. We can keep moving through. One more, I think. Here we go. This is our revised elevation. And so rather than 2 double hungs in this location, we're looking at a single picture window with a modified divided light pattern in a Marvin wood, a Marvin double paned wood window. And moving to the west, I'm sorry, same elevation, the previous elevation, please. Moving to the west, we are looking at taking that door, moving it up to the level of the first floor and applying a divided light pattern similar to the ones that we see at the casement windows and in the double hungs. And then taking the language of the front porch pergola and applying it to a pergola at the back entrance in framing rather than masonry, because we have a bold statement and a large entry kind of porch. They really wanted something very subtle that would allow them kind of quick access both to the backyard and to the front yard. The children come from school by the front door. The father comes from he works in the emergency room. He comes in at night from the back door, so they didn't want to sacrifice either mode of entry, but this is the primary entrance for the family. Let's see, let's keep moving through the drawings. The shaping of the pergola would match the shaping of the pergola at the front elevation, only on the primary beams, not on the purlins. Trying to strip down that language and simplify it, but carry it through rather than having them be equal. This one is subservient to the one in the front, using a frame language as we see here at the back porch, but trying to enclose the porch as much as possible underneath. And then just details of the windows. We are using a Marvin window, which has a very similar sectional proportion to the windows that we are replacing. One of these windows from the kitchen sink would be salvaged, moved to the west wall, and inserted in a new masonry opening that is on the west side of the house, centered on the opening to the dining room, allowing a view through the house. That's all.
Okay, questions from commissioners? No? All right, any public comment on this matter? No. Any discussion by commissioners? No. Would someone please make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, thanks, Beth.
Sure. Okay. For the property at 542 Forest Avenue, Lakeshore Historic District, case 20 Pres 0247, I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness to relocate the existing basement stair, remove 2 double hung windows in existing kitchen, raise sill to countertop height, replace with picture window in existing opening, match window style and rail and muntin pattern on existing windows, fix glass, reuse 1 window from existing opening at new masonry opening and rear, raise side entry door and provide new cedar entry with handrail and flat roof with pergola support to match existing front entry. Applicable standards are alteration 1 through 10, construction 1, 3 through 8, and 10 through 15, and demolition 1 through 6.
Second. Elliot, second. Okay, a roll call vote. Susie,
Aye.
Elliot? Elliot?
I muted
Is that
myself.
mute?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so it carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Right.
Next matter is 732 Michigan Avenue.
And he's there. There he is.
I'm here.
Okay, would you like to present the application?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Number one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is a stucco house located in the Lakeshore Historic District. The impetus for this project, this is a longstanding resident that's owned this house for about 34 years, and they would like to modify the house to serve for 3 generations that are currently living in the house: the mother, her children, her daughter, and her husband, and their children. And in order to continue to live in the house, they would like permission to add an addition to the rear of the house and to rebuild the garage. The front part of the house stays as is. All the windows in the front part of the house, from the front facade and the side facades as well, all stay as is, as are the rooms on the interior. In the rear, there's an existing addition, probably done, I think, done in the 70s or the 80s, and an existing deck, and that would be that would come off and be replaced by a 2-story addition in one section and a 1-story addition in the other. The house is stucco. The addition will be stucco to match. The house has asphalt shingles. The house will have asphalt shingles to match. None of the windows in the addition are visible from the street, but they are visible from the alley. We would like permission to use Marvin Elevate windows, which are wood-clad windows. The existing windows on the rear of the house, none of them are original windows. They all have been replaced over the years. All the original windows are in the front part of the house that is not being changed. The garage at the rear of the house is kind of in bad shape, so they would like permission. It's a 1-car garage. They'd like permission to take that down and replace it to a 1-car garage. Once again, in stucco and a little bit of half timbering, because that's what is on the existing house, so that it would match the existing house. There is one little wrinkle on this, and that is that we would like to align the north side of the 1-story addition with the existing facade. And in order to do that, we need a minor variation. The existing north side of the house is 3.57 feet back from the lot line. The standard or the minimum side yard is 5 feet. So we would need a minor variation from you and from the zoning department to go down to 3.57 so that the new addition could align with the existing house on the north side of the house. The existing deck in the back would be a wood deck. I would like to use a Trex handrail system, which I gave a section of and such there, basically because it's maintenance free. These are good people, but they're not, you know, as many people are in Evanston, they're not wealthy people. So they're trying to improve the house, keep it in character with the house, but use a few materials that are cost effective.
So did the packet contain pictures of the current house?
It does. It does. I don't know. Can you find those in there? That's an existing window. I can hold them up. I got them right here.
Oh, they are in the packet.
Yeah, they are there. There you are. There's the front facade, which is not being changed. There's the side facade. Now here, if you look at the model photographs that I sent or the drawings, you would see the rear addition peeking out from behind the building. So part of it would be visible from the front, but way in the distance. This is the north side of the house that would once again align with the one-story addition. We kept the addition on the north side to one story because that's all the space they needed, and it minimizes the impact of the minor variation. This is the existing rear facade, and this will basically be enveloped by the new addition. And so you can see the replacement windows. The windows had been replaced over the years in that.
Okay. All right, anything else you'd like to present?
No, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I don't know, there might be a few photographs of the garage. If you continue on, you can see how kind of, there's the garage, that's from the alley side, and you know, it was modified over the years and such. And if you look at the model photographs that I sent or the drawings with the existing and proposed elevations, you'd see the new garage is basically in character with it. There you see the addition peeking out from behind, right? Exactly. And that's the north side. The addition is towards the back there. There's the addition and the two-story addition and the one-story addition in the back. And that kind of dead on of the rear facade. Looking down the south side of the, there's the existing house in the front to the right, the addition to the left in the rear. And then you can see the garage, which is in the back.
Okay. All right, are there questions for the applicant?
Be glad to answer them.
Yeah, Carlos, what is our purview in reviewing the setback variations?
It's advisory to the zoning administrator for minor variations and advisory to the zoning board of appeals for major variations. In this case, it's a minor.
Will we need a separate motion to approve the minor zoning variation?
I think that would be better than combining with the standards for review of construction and demolition, because those are binding and they're part of the preservation ordinance, whereas the zoning variation is part of the zoning ordinance where it requires the commission to provide a recommendation. So they're two separate sets of standards.
Okay.
Sure.
I have a question for Ken.
Sure.
On the south elevation, if we can ever
Yes.
find it again.
Yeah, we can go back in the model or you had it there.
I know. It was on the model momentarily.
Yeah, go back to the model, Carlos.
No, don't make them do it
That would
again.
be sad.
No, Carlos, don't do that.
There. Okay.
No, that's north.
Oh, you're right. That's north. Keep going. There. Nope.
No.
Two more.
You know, you were ahead of the
Two
game.
more. Come on. There.
Well, that's not the best view, but we might as well.
Next.
Not there. How about that one?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I'm assuming that is a kitchen on the first floor at the rear.
It is.
You've changed, unfortunately, that's why I wish Carlos had stayed with the elevation, because we could look at the old one versus the new.
Yeah.
You've made a fairly drastic change there with those 3 strip windows butted up to the 2 double hungs.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there is some mysterious piece of.
They would really like to have these clear story windows above their cabinetry and stuff. I know that if the commission feels that that's a negative, I'm sure they'd be willing to give those up, but they really would like to have those because it brings light down into their kitchen, and everybody wants more light. You know that.
Well, since we're now not obligated to see the floor plans, and I'm not sure it's as critical. I think it's the character of what was there.
Sure.
You're somewhat taking the notion of the 2 little windows that are probably above some
Right.
shelves in the living room over on the right.
That's it. That's what I was trying to do, is saying, okay, maybe we can play off on those and create those in the back. I'm trying to keep them in line with the windows and his character as much.
But I think it's the fact that, thankfully this isn't a brick wall where I can say there's not much left of the bearing wall after you completely destroyed it with the world's largest lintel above those windows. But I'm not really sure what's going on. And I think what bothers me is that change in character. You have to really see.
Yeah.
And I guess we can ask Carlos or Scott or whoever's been manipulating. If you go back to what you had, this is really sort of a real drastic change in terms of the character of that opening.
Sure. We can go back to the existing photos.
I think you should have put a little bump on the back of your new garage too, just like the old one.
I could do that.
For the extra
I do that.
car.
Yeah.
Really cool. So I think it's there's certainly a character that I realize why you were probably doing it on the upper one, but there's something a little troublesome about the way those 3, at least for me, those 3 windows are handled.
Sure.
And actually, you've actually never mind. By having a pair of double hungs, which only added to the amount of opening.
Yeah.
Versus wall. There's sort of no wall left.
Yeah. There's actually support between the windows, but I understand what you're saying there. Sure.
All right. So I don't know if any of the other commissioners have any thoughts about that. I'm just not sure that's the best way to, again, not knowing what's happening on the other side of that elevation.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically clear story windows above the kitchen cabinetry is what they are.
And then you now have 2 double hungs versus 1.
The 2 double hungs are in the breakfast area part, so there's no cabinetry there, so that we could have the larger. This is the south-facing facade, and we're trying to capture as much light as we can from the south, even though it's the side of the house.
I think maybe what's so peculiar about it is just the fact that the double hung and the smaller windows are kind of in direct contact. I don't know if there's any way to slide things around a little bit just so I think if you had like 12 inches of stucco in between them, it would solve the issue.
Sure. I know another thing that could be done is we could drop the one window that's between the double hungs and the triple one, drop one, so we'd have a pair of the clear story windows and a pair of double hung windows.
Well, I think, if you drop the second double hung, you've got, it almost looks as if you're retaining the one that's already there, right? Existing.
Uh-huh.
And then you've kind of got 2 volumes versus this L-shaped or whatever panhandle, sort of the state of Oklahoma backwards or something.
Yeah.
Like that. But I think that's, that's the problem. And I think, Ken, you're sort of seeing the same thing
Sure.
that I am. I'm talking about Ken Idle versus.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. We're having a problem virtually here. I can see it.
Yeah.
May
Although
I
the-
just,
the function of it with the two larger windows being in the breakfast room, I mean, that just, I mean, I think Ken Idle's solution would be better in that, from a functional perspective, it just seems to be, I mean, to have a nice light breakfast room seems to make a lot of sense. And
Well, when you turn the corner, Mark, you'll see that he's got more windows in that same corner of the breakfast room. I think, do we have the west elevation?
Yes, sure.
So you
There's,
see that really,
yeah.
I'm not sure you needed those two windows when you've got, that enormous sliding door back there.
Mhm. It's just that it's the south-facing facade, and you're trying to capture that nice south light. That's all,
Breakfast, not lunch. Sun's on the east side, Gasly.
So wait, Ken, were you saying that if you separate
Yes.
Was there
if
room?
you separate the two double hungs in the breakfast room, you just don't band them together with those other windows?
Yeah. What I was suggesting is that.
No, I was talking to Ken. No, I'm
Other thing. Sorry.
Commissioner Ken. Commissioner Ken
Yes.
Idle, is that what you said? I mean, I think the banding
yeah, I mean,
isn't
obviously the house,
appropriate.
the having multiple types of windows kind of in one framed opening is what's peculiar. I mean, obviously there's a variety of window types and sizes on the original house, so I'm not objecting to having
So maybe you
double hung and
just
some smaller,
shift the double hung windows, the bigger ones, you just shift it over towards the rear of the house. I have to say that like the house isn't stellar in terms of its composition of windows. It's just that the banding suggests like a totally different kind of stylistic move. So if you try to, like, even if you had, I understand the cabinets and the transoms over them, but maybe if you had two transoms or separated it in some way, but if it's just not banded, it might be more successful. Although I have to say, I'm not horribly bothered because the other elevation on the rear where you have just slider doors, which are kind of not really part of the whole vocabulary, are there. So I'm not sure, it's sort of, and then the rear facade that was existing, that you're replacing with something much better. So I'm not sure how to evaluate it all. If there's a,
Well, that's kind of interesting too, because this is to Ken, the architect, versus Ken, the commissioner. Here you've gained groups of 3 windows, which don't exist, I think, anywhere else. You've done it on the entire west elevation in 3 locations. You've changed grammar again to, instead of individual windows with some space between them, now we have these elongate or very wide openings. You've done it in 3 locations here. So it's not even replicating what's around on the other 3 sides of the building. Not saying that the other 3 sides are great. I think at least the front is bad, but the 2 sides are not great anyway.
I feel that we could add a separation between the double hung windows and the clear story windows. We could slide the clear stories to the right and the double hung to the left and make them 2 distinct groups. We could positively do that.
While we're on this sheet, I'd like to talk about the east front elevation as well.
Yes.
Obviously, the big change here is we'll see the addition kind of peeking out from the corner, which in general I don't object to, but I think I'd like to see a little more articulation on that east wall of the addition.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's just kind of a blank stucco volume.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's space to put any windows or how the interior lays out, if there's any way to put a window in that facing east, or if perhaps the gable should be treated with kind of the half timber detailing to match the main volume. It just seems like that's a very blank wall facing the street to me.
Sure.
now that he's brought it up, could we see, I think it's easier to see that in the model,
Sure.
because I think we get a view where we can see the back and the front simultaneously. Somewhere. Well, we almost had it in that picture, but keep going. I don't want to stop anybody. There, that's probably a better, I don't know if there's another one, the next one or not. No.
Might be all the way around in the end.
Okay.
I'm not sure. There.
Yeah.
We could certainly add the half timbering up and that would help, I think.
Right. And adding the band, I don't know where the band hits, you know, the band with the half timbering, if you could
Yes.
add that
Yes.
that board, trim board.
Of
I
course.
don't, it doesn't look like you're gonna have room for a window, but that might
It's
help.
pretty tight, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would certainly do that.
Well, especially, I think if you had it as a separate edition, which it was,
Hmm.
I would have thought that you didn't have to do what Ken was suggesting. But you've gone and done that half timber stuff. You can see it here on the model,
Hmm.
on the back of the enlarged edition.
Yeah.
So that, once you've done that, then there's
Mhm.
no argument for not doing what Commissioner Ken was
Yes.
suggesting.
Sure. It makes sense.
Very strange collection of objects here.
All right. Were there any other questions from commissioners?
The only other thing I would say is it's really just peculiar to me to not have the 3 windows on the back centered under the gable. I know you centered them over the doors, but the front is so symmetrical.
Hmm.
And so I just wondered, I don't know what's in plan, but I didn't know if that, you know, is something you could move so it's centered under the gable.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Probably a closet along that north wall.
I don't know. We don't have the plans. I'm just the facade, but otherwise.
Is that
So
our
here's what we've,
plan?
so here's what we've, can I just go through what we've talked about? We've talked about trying to separate the windows on the, adjacent to those so that they're not on that facade. What facade is that? Is that the
South.
south facade, separating the 2 windows in the breakfast room from the banding of the 3 windows.
Yes.
And on the, let's see, on the, I'm going to just say this, on the rear facade, see if you can center those 3 windows. That's something that I have talked about, no one else has. And then on the other side of the addition, looking
That's
at
the east
putting
face of the
back
addition.
the trim board
Right.
and the timbering.
Yes.
And anything else?
Yeah, I'll throw one in, and this is to Ken H. If you look at, I guess, that little bump on the south facade, I don't know if that's the dining room or whatever, where all the little lights are.
Yeah,
that
that's
looks
an
like-
existing. It's an existing bay. Yeah. Mhm.
Bay?
But there's real separation between each of the 3 windows. There's an
Yes.
oversized mullion.
Yes.
And you did that on the 3 little windows above your cabinets in the kitchen.
Yes.
Is it possible to do that, not on whatever you do with the 2 windows in the kitchen, the breakfast area, but
Mhm.
as you go around to the west side,
Yes.
the 3 sets of 3 windows,
Hmm.
right now they look like you're buying 3 windows ganged together.
Yes.
The possibility of that sort of oversized mullion, which would at least separate those windows, which is a lot more the way I think that would help them look as if they're not just one big enormous opening.
Yeah. We
I think it changes the scale.
Yeah. And we could do that. Yes. Hmm.
That's it. That's for me.
Okay.
I don't know about anybody else. There's a bunch of people that still have their chance.
Okay. Do any other commissioners have questions, thoughts? Were there any members of the public here to speak about this matter? Any other?
Hi, no, we are members of the public here to speak about this matter. Hello.
Okay. Could you introduce
Sorry.
yourself, please?
Yes, Alex Elliott and Kyle Campbell at 732.
Sorry.
Sorry about the background.
Here,
That's
we'll
an
get it figured
accident.
out.
Just wanted to
There we go.
clarify that the 2 big windows in the breakfast room, that's actually where we'll eat all of our meals. That's all. And yes, yeah,
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner room,
yes,
colloquially.
correct. There will not be a kitchen island. It will just be a straight eat-in kitchen. And yeah, we eat all our meals as one big multi-generational family. Commissioner Dudnick has actually been over here before. So for Thanksgiving, I believe, a long time ago. So thank you for considering competition.
You remember?
There's another comment that I wanted to add, and that is we talked to our
Who's this?
We've talked to our neighbor on the north side, and that neighbor is supportive of the minor variance. We haven't gone through the process of writing a letter, but she and her husband would be open to doing so. So we've had a conversation over the fence with her.
Okay, thanks.
You don't want to get any closer, or you distant?
Their dog is too scary. Our dogs don't get along.
About the variance, I would make a recommendation that that the Preservation Commission would recommend that would be approved.
Julie, can you add the standards A, B, C? And I added in the email the standards as well in your last email. There are 3 standards.
I
A, B,
think I
C.
have that. So I don't have that. And you mean the most recent?
I sent this with the latest version.
Carlos, is
There are
that
3 standards, A, B, C,
Yeah.
and if you just cite the NIDOS standard.
this one looks like
It has to do whether or not it's going to have any detrimental effect, whether or not it will have any hardship economic to the owner.
It's page 4
whether or
of
not
the
it will
original
conserve.
OAC application.
Well, if anyone has it, they can do that because I don't have it to say it unless
somebody will do it instead of you.
Yeah, I don't have that
It's just
language.
something,
What am I saying?
it's in the application, right? Is it on the first?
That's right. It's page 4 of the original application, OACOA application.
Oh.
Okay, well, I have to see that on the
I
screen.
can hold it up for you, but that's all.
That's it.
Can you put it on the screen? Or else if someone has it, they should just say it because I don't have it.
It's not on the agenda.
So if somebody else has that information, they can just say it.
It's in the application. If you look at the application itself.
It's okay, I don't have the application, that's all I'm saying. I'm just looking at the,
Julie, but you received the packet.
I don't have the language for the application in front of me because I'm on the computer with it.
Scott,
Looking at
can you
you.
move back to the beginning of the application? Here was that.
Keep going.
That's the variance.
Keep going.
That's the variance.
Yeah, keep going. There. No, see, it's not in there.
No, it's not.
Carlos, it's not in the statement. It's not in the.
It's in the application itself,
Oh,
unless he didn't include it.
Oh, no, it's there.
And we go in the wrong direction.
Oh, there it is. That's it. Right there.
Zoning part, right?
Yep. That's page
Okay.
4 of the original.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'm going to make this separate motion then?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion for the property at 732 Michigan Avenue that the Preservation Commission would
Recommend.
recommend the approval of a minor variation for a side yard setback of 3.57 feet instead of the required 5.0 feet on the north side of the proposed new addition. And anything else?
Yeah, now,
You can, standards A, B, and C.
Standards, okay, standards A, B, and C.
Comply.
that standards A, B, and C will comply.
Apply.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Susie?
Aye.
Elliot?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, and then we need a motion to approve the certificate of appropriateness.
I think we've had these recommendations, so how is that, why are we, like, the question is, are we approving it with those recommendations? Because don't we have to see that?
Yes, I think we are.
Okay.
Do we want to see it, or do we want to just have it be something he works out with Carlos? I don't know that any of these are huge changes.
I think we want to see it.
Can we just mention them in the motion, or?
No. Okay, whatever. Someone can make a motion, we all have a vote.
Wait,
Well, wait a minute, if you're not gonna approve it yet,
we can't make the recommendation to zoning.
We
No.
can't.
Go to zoning until we approve the COA.
Is that true?
Yeah. Because zoning.
I'm not
Go
hearing
ahead.
that any of the changes that would be made would change the footprint of the building that would affect
No.
the zoning
Right.
variance.
Right.
Oh,
None of them.
none of those changes are gonna affect the footprint.
okay.
I feel comfortable that I can review the
That's fine.
revisions and maybe send that to Julie and the chair and see if there's any
Okay.
issues.
We
You're
trust.
subject to that.
Okay, well, it'd be better if the motion would at least briefly mention the changes if we can recall them.
I know what they are. I know them. I can go over them for you.
Do you want to do it,
let's
Julie,
see.
or should I make a
Okay.
motion?
Down, right?
All right,
Let
Let's
one
see.
of Julie make the motion.
okay. So, okay, I guess I'm gonna make a motion to approve it with recommendation. So make a motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness at 732 Michigan, Lakeshore Historic District, case number 20-0252, for the construction of a one-story and two-story stucco rear yard addition and open wooded deck addition, and the demolition of the existing one-car detached garage on the west rear yard, the construction of a new one-car detached garage, and we already looked at the minor zoning variation, which we are making a recommendation to approve. The applicable standards are construction 1 through 5, 7, 8, and 10 through 15, and demolition 1 through 6. And the following recommendations have been made, which will be reviewed administratively. Let's see, it would be the south elevation, separate the 2 double hung windows in the breakfast area from the 3 horizontal windows in the kitchen, on the, thanks, yeah, because I have to get my directions right. On the proposed west elevation, I'm making this recommendation to center the windows under the gable end, the second floor, and evaluate we're making the recommendation that that the 3 windows, double hung windows, in the new addition and the existing house on the west elevation get subdivided with wider muttons so that they look more in keeping with the existing windows. Is that one, Elliot? That was one.
Yeah,
They were not mountains, they're actually the spacing between the windows.
It's a spacing between the windows. And
Yes.
that we add on the rear of the addition, excuse me, on the east elevation of the addition, you put back the half timbering, or you add, excuse me, the half timbering and the banding below the half timbering. I think that's it.
So did you
And the
mention
standard-
that the applicant would try to center the
Yeah, I said center the windows below the gable on the addition, west elevation.
I think you're just, did you already say the applicable standards?
Uh-huh. I said that before, and with this recommendation, with these recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Susie,
Aye.
Elliot,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So it carries unanimously. And then Carlos, you'll, I do think it would be a good idea if you sent to commissioners the revised plans to have a quick look. and
I
get back
will, as soon as I get them from Ken.
Okay, great, thank
will-
you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Chair,
you.
Chair Simon, I do see that Mr. Martin has his hand raised.
Oh,
If you had
I
a
don't see.
question or
it.
comment, or
There they
Oh,
are.
sorry. I was just confirming that you were saying on the west side that the windows should not be like we currently have them, that doesn't have the space in between those four windows. They should be like the windows on our south side with the space between them.
I got it.
That's right.
I got it.
Sign her up.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next matter is 1239 Asbury Avenue. I think I see the applicant. Mr. Melenkov, are you the presenter? Is he frozen?
He's next to me there.
There he is. Mr. Melenkov, are you presenting this?
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Existing house, our project is of the interior renovation. The existing house is abandoned, was abandoned for some time. The interior is practically demolished. We are not doing anything on the exterior elevations except for restoring and repairing existing.
You're frozen. I think. Can you hear us?
Goes.
Victor, your voice is very much. Victor, you're not coming through.
Yes. What? Excuse
Yeah,
me?
you're frozen, Victor. We cannot hear you very well. So.
Oh, what can I do?
Okay, right now it's okay, but just in case, just be aware of that. You might be not coming through all the way.
I see. So in the rear of the house, we have this sunroom existing, and we are intend to build a deck above it because there is an existing door leading to this existing roof from the bedroom. So we think that original intention was to build a balcony there or a deck, which we are intended to do. Can we see the drawing, Carlos? Yes. So this is. Wait a second. No, we need the second floor. This is the basement. Can we see another sheet? Yes. So this is the deck that we want to build, and this is existing double door. We have a detail for this railing that we want to build? And on the next page, probably they said, yes, this is a simple, we want to keep it simple with balusters of 2x6, 2x4 and flat 2x6 top. And since we have the rather big overhang on an existing sunroom, this railing will be set back about 2 feet from the edge of the roof. So this is the limit of our involvement in the outside of the house. All other elements will be restored and repaired. In the back of the lot, we have a garage, which is, for some reason, about 6 inches below the grade of the adjacent, adjacent alley. And it is in very bad shape, and we intend to rebuild it. We were trying to catch the image of the existing house. Unfortunately, we're too close to the property line, so we are not allowed any significant overhang. It's only 6 inches. That's why we cannot use the same gable roof like we have on the main house. So we want to use the elements like the white trim and siding to match existing siding of the house. That's practically it with our project.
Okay. Are there questions from the commission?
I just would add that you might want to look at a different garage door that might be more in keeping with the house, the style of the house. But otherwise, I have no other comments.
Yes, more traditional shape, I guess.
Yeah, or less panels maybe, just that looks kind of colonial, and I know they make different styles, so.
Yeah, this is kind of a standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're rebuilding the garage, isn't it possible to have moved it slightly away from the property line to allow the larger eaves?
No, we are very much limited. We have 3 feet from one side, 3 feet from the other side, and we can move it in any direction, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not the best design, but we are limited.
All right. Were there any members of the public who wish to speak to this matter? Are there any other commentary or issues from commissioners?
I just wanted to say that I'm very happy you purchased this house because we did see this house I don't know, it was before COVID, hard to remember when that was, but we saw this house with a different potential owner, I think, and they were really talking about dismantling the house and raising the roof and doing various things, which the commission did not approve, but whatever happened between then and now, it needs some care and attention, and so I'm really glad that, you purchased it.
Yeah, we talked to the current owner and explained to him that we are not doing anything, that this building is good enough to restore like it is, and we won't touch anything from the outside. He agreed.
All right, could we have a motion to approve?
I'll do the motion.
Okay, great, thank you.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 1239 Asbury Avenue, a landmark in the Ridge Historic District, case number 20 Pres-0248. The appropriate COA to include repairs to the existing exterior materials, no alterations to the exterior facades except for a new deck over the one-story sunroom on the rear east facade, and to demolish the existing detached two-car garage and construct a new two-car garage. The commission would like to make the recommendation to revisit the style of the garage door. Applicable standards include alteration 1 through 10, construction 1 through 5, 7, 8, 10 through 16, and demolition 1 through 6.
Second?
Second.
Second, I think Julie's hand was up first. All right, roll call vote. Susie?
Aye.
Elliot?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So it carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. The next matter is 1314 Johnson Avenue. You're muted.
Where is he?
There, great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fantastic. My name is Gus Granchalik. Good afternoon or good evening. Thanks for your time. My wife and I, Kristen, are presenting this request to the commission to replace our existing dormer structure on our coach house and put a similar or compatible dormer on the coach house, the second-story coach house. I think by way of background, Kristen and I bought the home from a longtime Evanston owner, I think about 2 years ago. The coach house was an occupied coach house, and so that was, I think, part of the reason or ability for us to buy the home. While I'm a longtime Evanston resident, I grew up in the city, so I'm sort of familiar with how the community looks and feels. Kristen is a new member of the community, so I will walk you through our application if you want to go to the next page. This is our plat survey. We're not making any, I think, significant edits to the plat survey. On the next page is a slight modification to a concrete trash pad or parking pad, whatever, a slab next to the coach house as it stands today. Again, the footprint of the coach house does not move. We add roughly 10 or so feet of concrete on the one side, which is currently a trash pad. This is the roof pitch, which will probably make more sense as we get further into the presentation so we can continue on. So this is our, I believe, east elevation. So just by way of reference, we back up to that Caravali gymnasium renovation or alteration that was done several years ago. We are literally across the alley from it, from the floor of it, and then down a little bit from the opening to the playground right there. Sit between a coach house on one side, and if you flip through, you'll see sort of the Carlos, if you go a couple more slides, we can come back to these. I just want to give everybody a frame of reference of where we are. Sorry. Go one further. So our coach house is that little guy in the middle there. To the left, you see our neighbor, Brooklyn. She's got a coach house, and then we have ours. You can see how it looks. Let's go back in the presentation, back towards the beginning of it. So we'll start with the east elevation, Carlos, if they could. So this is the existing dormer structure you see on the top. It's actually a pure asphalt look and feel right now. The siding is asphalt. It's I think a rubber roof or some version of that, vinyl windows. This is again on the yard side, so this would not be visible from the street. But one of the things that we did here was we wanted to preserve the ridgeline. I think both Kristen and I have been watching some of the YouTube videos of the preservation deliberations, and we're trying to sort of meet the standards that we're hearing you repeat and talk about with a variety of different people. I was caught by some of the things that were said today. So we were keeping the ridgeline, keeping intact the existing gable structure, and really trying to replace only that dormer structure that would make the space far more functional. You can go to the west elevation, I think, is next. I'm sorry, this is the north elevation. So similarly, you see that the dormers kind of work their way out. We are asking to move the door over right now to better fit the stairwell that we want to rebuild inside. Again, keeping the gable structure intact. So we have a full stucco wall, it's a stucco wall, and then up through the gable. So we felt that that was an important thing to keep the look and the feel together. This would be the alley side. You see the 2-car and single door right now. Actually, both are one is functional. The barn door is semi-functional. It's coming off the hinges, so we put a lot of measures in place. 2x4s would be measures to make sure it doesn't fall off its hinges. When we bought the home, actually within a matter of months, I think, the garage door on the 2-car garage door actually fell off. So in a stopgap measure, we just had to plug it up with plywood, which is something we're trying to get away from as quickly as possible here. So you see the expanded dormer right now, and getting away from that asphalt siding, maintaining that ridge line and maintaining that gable structure. Keep going. This is a actual depiction of it, how it would look. Keep going, Carlos. We saw this picture already. So the home we bought from the Cohen family, I think they lived in the house since the 70s. They had done some, it looks like some modifications to it. You know, as I mentioned, as someone that has been in this community a long time, I'm trying to invest to make sure it looks and feels like it should. So I know we're probably going to be in front of you guys a number of times in the next 5 or 10 years as we incrementally improve the home and make it really ours with our 3 kids. So this is the front aspect, and then you see the back right now. There was a screen porch put on. So I think we have a variety of different looks and feels. I'm not sure we have one architectural style that stands out. I think over the number of years, obviously, people bolted onto this home in different ways. This was just some of the window material I think they asked us to include. Wanted to ensure that you had this information as well. Happy to certainly take questions or talk through anything with any of the commissioners.
I have a question. I don't quite understand the size of these dormers. It's my understanding, unless I'm missing something, that there's a total limit of about 30% of the length of the roof or house for a dormer by zoning. Is this not being considered as a dormer? I mean, that's my understanding.
You know,
there's a maximum limit on dormers in Evanston, aside from how close you can be to the, I don't know whether there is a
rear yard. Yeah.
No, but there's also to the front of to the ends of the house. I think you have to be back about 20%, but it's supposed to be 30% of the length of the roof, and this seems to be about 80% of the length of the roof.
I don't have the regulation in front of me, Commissioner Dudnick,
Well,
but
I did. I
I'm not
looked
positive
it up.
that
I
applies
looked
to
it up.
garages or only to principal structures.
You're saying it only applies to principal structures?
I don't have in front of me, but that may be the case. The zoning analysis in front of us did not indicate that as a This is a
You
variance
have a
issue.
two-story garage that is 3 feet away. I mean, are there any, I don't know the restrictions. I mean, basically, it's sort of like you're trying to do a two-story garage with this giant dormer that's out of scale with the rest of the garage. So are there any, so I'm asking because I don't know if there are any other restrictions.
No, now
For that.
it's a coach house.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think he's falling into the fact that coach houses are now permitted, and I think this has become a coach house and not a garage. And it even says so.
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
proposal.
I do believe it. When we got the home, there was occupant in there, and they had, I think, qualified as such. I'm not sure exactly how that becomes an official thing or a non-official thing, and that there was an occupancy. The city had asked for, our occupancy permit or something like this that had been standing with the city.
Well, they're allowing coach houses now.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. It's just giant. It's just that the dormer isn't really a dormer and it's enormous and it obliterates the rest of the garage. And I understand it's a garage. So, and I know what it backs up to, but just as a architecture move, it's, it's different. It's strange. It screws the whole scale up of the small garage, and so anyway.
I mean,
But
I think if I understand things correctly, I mean, they can do accessory dwelling units like this. I mean, I guess I'd like to see a version where it's just give up pretending these are dormers, do a two-story
Right.
structure with
Yeah.
a normal roof line and see how that looks. You're essentially rebuilding the entire second floor anyway. Let's just,
Right.
I'd be very curious what it looks like if you just give up the notion of the roof line coming down to pretend to be a dormer and instead
Right.
turn it into a two-story building.
There is some problem because you can't make it quite as tall as the main house once you make it a coach house or whatever. They're still limited to, I think it's either 20 or 22 feet. You get a little more credit if you're matching the slope of the main house, which I'm not sure they are anymore anyway. But I agree with both of you. This is sort of like this extra house got dropped on top of a garage, and it's kind of lost all the character. I think there's other ways to have extended that second floor rather than as one big long sort of shed dormer. And I think it would be a lot more in character to the house than this is. This is trying to match, unfortunately, the building across the alley.
And it might be pertinent to the commissioner's comments. There is a text amendment that has been recommended by the Plan Commission that'll be going forward to the City Council on the 14th of September, potentially for introduction. That would loosen up some more of the standards for accessory dwelling units, would allow maximum height of 20 feet for a flat or mansard roof, and then a maximum height of 28 feet for a slope roof. So that, may be an option if you wanted to wait and kind of see if that ends up being approved. That gives some
What's
other
the,
additional flexibility.
thanks, Scott. What's the height of, what's the height of this? I saw it on your elevation, but what's the height of that ridge? Did you have that?
Rob, do you know by chance?
No, just scroll back to the plans.
I think 25.5 is what the zoning analysis.
But I agree with Ken.
20.7 it looks like.
Well, if you waited, I agree with Ken that probably you'd be more successful if you just, because you got to, to put that dormer on, you're rebuilding that roof because of the structure left from the roof is not there with that dormer. So you might as well think about it as a second story. That's what it is. Then if you can go up to 28 feet, if Scott, I don't know what that is, if that's going forward, but you get, you could look at what happens with your slope.
And then I
Of
think
your-
you mentioned this, but is the house, the coach house to the north, a full two-story coach house? I mean, it looks like it is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Is the coach house to the north a full two-story coach house?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a full, like it's the first story, then there's like an 8-foot wall, and then I don't know what kind of roof, some sort of angled roof. There's actually 3 down there's one more down the street, down the alley that actually overhangs into the alley, flush with the property line.
Well, would you be willing to look at a different design that does that, so that it's what you're trying to do? Seems so, to get as much volume as you can. And we're sort of saying like, well, keeping that datum of that eave is kind of obliterated by the size of your dormer. So maybe just, it's not so important. Maybe you were thinking that was important, but it isn't in this design.
So as I understand it, that would, doing a couple things, it would sort of, my gable, my triangular gable thing there, that would then sort of be removed, right? Because you're suggesting some sort of more just de novo second story.
I think I think it's a redesign of what happened to the gate. It's no longer a gable. It could be a gable. It's going to be flatter. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm just, suggesting like it doesn't seem like you're keeping a lot of that roof.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, I'm adding dormer rather than roof. What I'm trying to, I think retain is that the pitch, I guess, at the edges.
Right.
So
I understand. Well then, or else maybe you make the dormer smaller. It's kind of in between, I think so I guess Elliot and Ken, if we were gonna be looking at standards, I mean, it's just somehow the scale is blown away of this structure completely. They're not really dormers.
Well, I think, the other question is, does it have to be without knowing what he's doing inside? That's why I'm asking, does it have to be one big long dormer?
Well, yeah, if you broke it up, it would be better.
Up into 2, but I think the thing is, and as I said, having struggled with trying to make a couple of these lately, where you're trying to build 2 floors immediately over a garage, that extra height is going to make all the difference in the world. Because when I look at this thing, I'm going to tell you, there's nothing left of what was the roof shape other than these 2 ends. You're going to be ripping out everything in between, and you might as well go for a peaked roof that if you could get 5 more feet out of it, you could actually get some decent headroom and something nicer on the inside, and just go end to end and not pretend it's a dormer, because the amount of effort to do this isn't going to gain you anything. I mean, I'm not sure how to propose a second floor, period.
Okay. I mean, I think to put it in terms of the standards again, the obviously this coach house doesn't have all that much character to it, but the kind of gabled roof was about one of the few distinctive things. If you go the dormer route, it's essentially obliterated. There's just these little fragments left over. Whereas if you took advantage of the new height requirement or the new height allowance and treated it as a full second floor, I think you could put maybe not quite at the same angle, but a more similar full gable roof over the whole thing would actually be more in keeping with the actual character of the building.
Or unless,
very flat dormer look,
Or unless you do, instead of this long shed dormer, you do 2, and you do 2 cross gables facing the alley, and you go up to the ridge of the existing gable. It's just that you get more of the shape back. Do you know what I'm saying? You just change the way that dormer is, so you could even look at it if you wanted to keep the height of that, and that gable end that's existing, do 2 cross gables facing the alley, but you don't have continuous headroom, obviously. You get 2 rooms. So I don't know, but so I think what we're saying is right now it's sort of like a second story, but it really isn't, and it's maybe any of the things that we're talking about could help that and still give you headroom.
Unfortunately, we've only got your one picture of the front of the house and a little bit of the back, so it's hard to tell if there's any
Yeah.
from the house itself. You know, the other thing is that I realize you're just taking out those doors, but when I look at this photograph, in your elevation, you made it seem as if you're taking out a small wooden garage door and putting in an even smaller second garage door. When I look at this photograph here, the one that's on the screen, that existing door looks like it's taller than I'm talking about the existing barn door, looks a lot taller than the existing garage door. And, you know, the proposed just looks like you bought two doors that were available from someone on sale and just punched them in. They don't even seem to relate to one another. And I think, you know, once you're remaking this thing, make it look like it's one house. This just
Yeah,
looks-
I appreciate that, and perhaps my drawing can be improved. Not only am I going to go back and you know, I can draw it a little bit better. I can Google some of the words you're using and try to figure out exactly how to do it. So, as a novice, I'm working through it, but I appreciate the feedback. Your feedback is clear, though.
Well, look at this photograph and just look at the barn door. The barn door comes all the way to the underside of the eave. At least in this photo, not in your elevation.
Yeah.
So, you know, draw what's there. I think it would help.
All right.
Anyway.
All right. Well, it sounds like, I mean, this may take some time because of, you know, issues in terms of whether the text amendment passes in the time. But I mean, would you be willing, if we continued it, to come back? I mean, it may not be realistic for next month, but come back when you can with a different design.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it's in order. So, and I don't know from Scott, from your perspective, that will go for the council. You're saying in this month, but then that will give us a little bit more guidance on how this all could look.
Scott, is it this month or?
Correct. So, you know, and there's no guarantees on how things will go, but it is set for introduction on September 14th. So if it were to be introduced that date, then it would be up for action on September 28th and could be approved then. So that would be the potential time frame for approval.
And just, I mean, I assume this is part of the broader movement to encourage accessory dwelling units to be built and get the city supportive of that.
Correct. Yes, it's based on an automatic referral, and then the city's worked through more thorough regulations for accessory dwelling units and is recommending approval of it. So again, tune in next week to learn more.
Okay.
Just a side note, in terms of the time frame. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So a side note to help the applicant is that the timing of potential adoption of the amendments will be the end of September. He will probably have time to redesign, whether it's a full two-story, whatever that allowance would be, then submit for zoning analysis again. That would probably be in October. So I'm thinking that maybe if things go smoothly, he may be back in November. Would that satisfy your timetable?
Carlos, is that a question to me or to the commission?
Yes, to you, I'm sorry. Yes. So, you know, because we want to make sure that you get the best benefit of the potential amendments to the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, to allow you to do what you propose, and also redesign it so that it can meet the standards and eventually obtain the approval from the commission. But, you know, I think that you mentioned that you are trying to do your best under the circumstances. You're not a professional architect, I don't think. Yes, that's what you said earlier to me.
That's correct.
So I think that with all things considered, you know, I take small steps, but there will be sure steps towards, you know, a resolution to your cause.
May I make a recommendation, Gus?
Please.
If you haven't communicated with her, and I think you have to do it by email, one is Melissa Klaus, the zoning and get all the recommendations and find out all the criteria right now for what are coach houses and heights, because I think that would have helped you to begin with. And the second is she can probably fill you in on all those recommendations. Admittedly, they haven't been approved yet, but as Scott implied, they probably will be. And I think everybody's talked about what they are. They've been published online in various forms, and you might as well start. Don't wait until the day they approve it to start redrawing. I think you could do a lot in advance of that. And I think that would help you a lot. You could already be partway there. A lot of the things are going to happen. I mean, the height and what it would take on. If they give you 28 feet versus 25 feet or whatever, that only makes it better. It's not going to make it worse. So I think you could be doing a lot of this in advance.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You can get to the October meeting, but it certainly means that you could have a lot of this done.
Okay, so why don't we continue this to the November meeting? Would someone like to make a motion to continue it?
It's Ken's turn.
Okay, Ken?
All right. I missed the date in November. What's the date again we're deferring this to?
That would be, hold on a second,
Do we know?
November 10th.
So I move that we table this, the proposed work at 1314 Judson Avenue pending a resubmission by the applicant until the meeting of November 10th.
Second?
Second.
Second? All right, I guess we have to do a roll call vote. Susie?
Aye.
Elliot?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Beth? We still have Beth?
She's still there?
I don't see her. So let's go Tim.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So I think it's 7-0 of the current attendees. Okay, thank you. We'll see you then, hopefully in November.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1330 Lake Street. Do we have the applicant?
Chad?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, 1330 Lake Street, Chad Rogers. Thanks for your time. I know it's pressing about 2 hours now, so I'll try to be quick-winded.
Oh, we're used to it.
I have been before you guys in the past, so thanks for having me back and for taking the time to hear this proposal on a garage that was existing previously, and we're looking to rebuild it because there's nothing there. As you know, just to kind of give you some history, we bought the property in 2016, ultimately started a massive rehab in about 2018, 2019, came before the commission for the interior remodel as well as the exterior. Went from basically stucco, brought it back to its original clapboard, cedar wood style on the outside. At that time, to the matter at hand, there was a single car garage that connected two properties. So there was one garage, served both properties, each had their own side to enter with one wall separating the garage, the spaces. In 2019, our neighbor to the east, the Colberts, one, it had been sitting on plans that they had approved for you guys for a while to build a garage. We gave them the go-ahead. They ended up building a beautiful garage to the right, and it's now sitting. But unfortunately, that destroyed our side. And so now we're seeking to ultimately build the garage again and bring it back to fit with the current existing house. I'm sure that you guys have looked through, or hopefully had a moment to look through kind of the proposal. We are seeking various variations for the property itself as a result of the width of the property and the length of the property. It doesn't give a lot of space for a garage that would fit, say, a minivan with some storage on the side. So if you want to scroll down, it gives you a plot of survey. It looks like Scott already went to the first page. You've seen that probably before. Here's a rough-handed sketch by me of where the garage would be now. So if you go back to the previous plot, Scott, just to show them the original, you see where the garage single split right down the middle of the two properties. And so right now we're proposing to try to keep our garage fairly close to that property line as is discussed in the actual proposal. So currently our neighbor has where it's going to be built, or we're proposing it for to be built, we're going to have about 6 feet between the two garages. If you can go to the next plot, so right there, so between our garage ending on the east side and the start of the neighbor's garage, it will be about 6 feet between the properties. If you can go to the next slide, Scott. This kind of gives you a, I don't know, bird's eye view, 50,000 foot view of what to expect the garage and what it's going to look like. So you basically have about 12 feet and a 6 foot opening on the west side for storage. We decided to put the door in the front as a result to try to maintain the integrity of that 6 foot cutout to be able to use that for a variety of different things, whether it's bikes or what have you. The property or the garage itself, you have basically 18 running in the back with a 2 foot or 2.5 foot offset from the property line. We're following the same sight line that we will have with the neighbor's garage. So if you look from west to east, you would see uniformed sight line on two garages, both between my garage and the neighbor's garage. It does have a window on the top level. You can have a window on the west side as well as a window on the north side. Can you go to the next slide for me? This kind of gives you the straight look at what it's going to look like from the street itself. I think it has a top height of about 20 feet. Has that top window in the back, as you see on the south elevation. The east elevation does not have a window. The east elevation is directly between the two, basically that 6 foot area I spoke about previously. You see the north elevation has a window up top. That will be the same windows that match the home itself, which I remember having to come back to the commission about because prior to me owning it, this house had a variety of windows. We had everything from 2008 Pella aluminum clad windows to windows that were vinyl. Thankfully in the remodel, we basically went back to everything except 2 windows back to the 2008 aluminum clad wood Pella windows. That's what we will utilize on this particular garage as well. It will match the home. Yeah, so that kind of gives you the idea. Can you go to the next slide? There's the sight line I was talking about. This is currently what the property looks like. If you look from west to east, that's the new garage, beautiful garage that my neighbor put up, the Colberts. And if you look at the facing south, you have a southern facing house, which has Seth Freeman. I see that he's on today, possibly for comment. That's his house right there. And ultimately you can see on the facing south, you have a fence where my neighbor put up a fence. That's kind of where different stuffs are stored and things of that nature. But there would be basically a 6 foot gap between our garage, proposed garage, and his garage. Next slide. This gives you another view of kind of the house itself. You get there's the east side porch. We'll be able to walk out right into that garage. You see the clapboard and kind of the new design, movement of the stairs, which you guys approved previously. So it's, in our opinion, of course, we think we've massively improved the house and the overall exterior from the green stucco to the cedar exterior. And the garage itself will, of course, match the home, except for the dentals. We'll have straight fascia, we won't have the dentals. Because most likely the time period, even though the previous garage was built out after the property was actually moved, we wouldn't have the dentals because that probably wouldn't fit with the overall appearance. So this kind of gives you the brief stuff that you've already seen, the minor variations. Of course, we're seeking one on the interior lot. Allegedly, well, there is a regulation that specifies you can't have a garage on the interior portion. Of course, we're seeking a variation for that to follow and put the garage, which is basically the only place we can put it, on the interior eastern side. We're also seeking variations for the distance because we're kind of tucked it in there, and we'll run into problems if it gets too wide or too small. One, for usability, and two, between the neighbor's garage, the southern portion of our property line, which we have granted an easement to the southern property, which is Seth Friesman property that he utilizes today. And we've also had a gap, about an 8 foot gap based on the proposed, between the porch and the garage itself. Now, if you took the distance from the proposed garage to the actual home, it'd be about 12 to 13 feet in distance instead of the 8. So there's kind of variation, or the variances that we're looking for, or the variations on the zoning laws. They are categorized as minor, and so hopefully we can get approval for those as well. So that kind of sums up the project. I kind of gave you an overview of the history of kind of the property itself, what we've been to, why we've been before you before, or come before you before, and ultimately what we're trying to do is get a garage that's functional for quote unquote a minivan and some storage space to the side, as well as storage space up top. And we're seeking some variances as discussed and shown in the proposal itself. So I'm open for any questions, and hopefully I can answer what you need.
We just see the plan once again. I guess it was just the sketch, yeah.
Where is the neighbor's garage now, the new one?
It's right to your right. So right where Scott's putting that cursor with the hand, it is right there to the east of our property.
So they
go
do,
to the-
how far over?
It's a
do
shared
they-
driveway. So if you go to the picture, it can give you also an understanding of the empty space to the right. See there, right there, the empty, the south facing, right there. See that empty space? It used to be garage. The neighbor's garage is now to the left, which they did a wonderful job because it really matches the home. But ours is, of course, the empty space of where we would like to put a garage.
So how far is he from the property line?
How far is he? He is the 2.5 feet that we're looking to get for the variance. Which you guys approved his, I think, in around 2018 or maybe 2017. They waited a couple of years because the previous owners didn't want to destroy the garages, obviously, because it creates a pretty big head.
So then between the two garages, you get what, 5 feet or something?
Yeah,
Is
there's
that-
5 to 6 feet between the two garages. We are trying to hug the property line just because we're trying to balance both the property line issue on the interior east side as well as the distance to the porch. We want to
And then
have
how-
that. Sorry.
You're only going to be about a foot from the property line, and I think you're 0.8 feet, so you'll be about 3.5 feet from theirs.
Well, he moved over to about 4 feet, 4.5. So he's a little bit further from the property line than he needed to. And so that's how they designed it. So there's a little bit more space there.
Well, as I recall, you've already got the problem that you're supposed to be 10 feet from the principal house, and you're asking for a variance to be closer.
That is correct. I'm asking for a variance for 8 feet because the porch that juts out from the east side of the house creates an issue with the variance.
Just quick question, if both your garage, what happens to all like the drainage between both structures? Just wondering, because they're so close together.
Yeah, currently we're thinking about moving the drains. So the way the gutter systems, we're supposed to move them, of course, not towards each other's foundation. And so right now, you can't see it in the picture, but we actually have a drain that was pre-existing that goes under our garage. So there's a huge pipe that literally goes down, I don't know how many feet, it hasn't been surveyed, but that's where the drainage basically goes. And so we were trying to get the drainage to not feed in there.
And that's not really our purview. I just asked that question.
No, it's a solid question because when you look at the gutter systems,
Yeah.
the way they're right now, you got water going both sides. And so I've talked to John a little bit about how we want to handle that to make sure we don't have water issues. And we don't want water going towards Seth's house either. So.
All right, was there any member of the public that wished to speak? No. Any more discussion or questions from commissioners?
Yeah, this is Seth Freeman. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hi, Chad. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. I have a couple questions that are not outlined, I don't think, in the, from what I can read. So first, I think the design of the garage is very nice. On the plan that you're showing here, so as just a some background, there's an implied there's an easement for my driveway, and so my question is, on the letter I got and then on your application, Chad, it said 2.5 feet setback for the roof overhang, but my understanding was 3 feet from the property line. Are you now saying that it's 2.5 foot setback from the property line or the roof overhang?
Yeah, you'll have a 3 foot property line. So it's going to line up with the neighbors, but you have an overhang coming off. So you will have that 2.5 feet.
I'm good with the 2.5 feet. So the culvert's garage is actually, I think he told me 3'6" or 3'8" from the property line. Chad, we have that fence, right?
Yes.
The garage itself, will that be north of that fence, or the south wall of the garage? Is it north of the fence, or is it in line? Or is it in line with the fence?
So the south wall,
which will be facing which will align with my driveway.
yes, I know what you're talking about. So remember that the property line itself kind of juts back at an angle. So it does go from wider to narrower as you go back on your property. And
that's right.
Yeah, the easement that you utilize to park your cars is kind of, if you look at it, that's how it works. And so right now it would be just forward of that fence line and almost lining up with that fence line, the brown fence that's pretty ugly.
So are you
lining up?
When you say forward, are you saying south forward?
I'm saying north.
Okay. So essentially, you're going to be a little shy of where the previous garage would be.
I will be a little north of where the previous garage, so I line up with the sight line of the neighbor's house.
Okay. Then I'll tell you that I support your garage.
Great.
So I had said that in my request to speak when I had to fill out the form, but it's good that we got that cleared, because on your site plan, if you go to the next page, it doesn't show where that fence is.
Right.
So that's why I didn't see you around this weekend. Otherwise, I would have. I saw your wife and kids, but I didn't see you.
Sorry.
Thanks.
I am concerned. I'm glad that you thought about the water, because I am concerned about the water. We still get a little bit from the culverts, and I haven't talked to him about it, but you know, the culverts drainage off the one of them does come into our yard.
Sure.
So I'm glad you're thinking about that. So again, I express my support of your garage. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have a question on your drawing.
Sure.
I mean, this is it's a sketch, I would call it. I mean, it's not, you know, you don't show some of the elements like the wall, the fence he was the previous gentleman was talking about. To get all these variances, don't you have to have that drawing? I mean, this seems so diagrammatic with some of the information that is not on here.
I don't know if it's diagrammatic.
That's a question for you.
I don't know if it's diagrammatic. I think that's a pretty complex word. When you go back to if you can go back to the prior site plan, the original, for me, Scott?
Survey.
Just up one. So if you look at that, and if you look at the bottom, you have a fence line that goes at an angle. If you go that cutout, and then you go see the cutout on the southeastern side of the concrete pad, the porch, the rocks at the bottom, southern portion, has a little tip that cuts out towards the south. Now, if you go back to the new site plan, Scott, if you don't mind, you'll see that same cutout. And if you drew a line, you'll line right up essentially with the back south wall.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not direct. It's not, you know, computer drawing.
Well, just because it's not computer drawing, I don't think that it's not usable.
Okay, it's just a recommendation. You're going for a lot of variances, so, you know, all the information should be exacting. That's a recommendation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Any more issues, questions from commissioners, discussion? No. Would someone like to make a motion? I guess we need two separate motions. Why we do first for the construction of the garage?
I'll do it.
Okay, thanks, Elliot.
1330 Lake Street, Ridge Historic District, case 20, Pres 0255. I move that we issue a certificate of appropriateness to construct a new detached one-car garage in the southeast corner of the lot at the interior side yard roughly in the same location as the old garage, which, well, let's just deal with this momentarily. This would be wood framed, wood siding, and it requires any number of proposed variations, which, can we put them all into one motion?
Oh, I think we have to do two.
All right. Well, then let's stop with the garage and indicate that applicable standards for construction 1 through 5, 7, 8, 10 through 16. I guess there is no demolition. It's already been demolished.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would only be those standards for construction.
Okay. A second for the certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
Thanks. Thanks, Susie.
Roll call vote. Susie,
Aye.
Elliot,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Elliot, do you want to try the zoning recommendation as well?
In this case, for the same property, I won't repeat it, we are making a recommendation. And in this case, these are still minor, towards the minor zoning variances for the following items, allowing the detached structure, meaning the garage, within the interior side yard between the principal structure and the side lot line, to provide a setback of, is it still 1.8? I thought
Yes,
it
sir.
was 2 in one place. Here on this, I guess you're saying 1'10". The sketch
Yeah,
shows.
it's 1'10", and when you look at the overhang, you have a little bit more.
All right, anyway, we'll say 1.8 as the proposed setback from the east property line. And also for a separation between the garage and principal structure of 8 feet versus the required 10 feet. And, oh my God, one more, a minimum required setback from the interior side and rear property lines to the garage roof overhang of the 0.8 on the east, 2 on the south versus 2.5 feet. And those, the standards for review would be standards A, B, and C.
Great, good job.
Second.
Second. Okay, roll call vote. Susie,
Aye.
Elliot,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Beth,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
All right. Carlos, I don't know if anybody got back to you with the minutes. I did not have a chance to read them since.
I didn't either. I got them. I was at a site meeting. I got home and I saw them. So
Well,
I
it
did not.
didn't arrive. Carlos, I made a bunch of little changes, but I didn't send them to you. I happened to read them while eating dinner. And
Anything substantial to note or just minor things?
no, I think there's some typos and some grammatical things, but I don't think any of them are critical to
Can,
the
so
meaning.
I didn't read them because I must, as I said, I would like to read them. The last meeting we had, that was a
24.
little difficult, that meeting.
Carlos, can you wait to get approval of the minutes? I mean, I think for 2404 Ridge, it's important.
Yeah,
that we get
it's
it.
important. I agree. I'd like to wait because we really did get them pretty late. I mean, I wasn't in the office.
When do you need them?
Well, it's better to have them as soon as possible, and I understand that you got them.
I can look at it tomorrow. Yeah.
But we need to approve, like last time you guys approved with any changes that were for edits and any upcoming edits. So if you have this similar motion, I can wait until those edits come. And I can share that with the commission, but they will be approved. And I don't know if Scott will agree with that, but that's the motion that you have previously for the minutes for July that you made in August.
For those,
There were
you need us to
receive
actually-
and to be received comments. So I was very careful with, especially 2404. It took a long time to draft. And, you know, I tried to capture the spirit of the meeting, the comments that were made. Almost, you know, I think I probably missed a few that were not as important, the ones that were made. Obviously, I understand that you would like to see them, but I don't know, maybe Scott has a suggestion. He would like to have those approved as soon as possible, but we cannot approve without a quorum.
Yeah, if the commission has not had a chance to review the meeting minutes, then I would suggest, you know, holding off until the next meeting until they've been reviewed.
I believe that it is important. I think there's one or two things on 2404. There was at least one that I wasn't sure whether the intent of the particular sentence or paragraph was really correct. And I think in general, most of the other cases weren't terribly important, but I agree with what everybody has said. That one, as we all probably figured out during the course of that portion of the meeting, is probably very critical that we get all of that language right, because I suspect it didn't end that night.
Yeah. So can we?
If I just may ask the commissioners to send me those comments as soon as
Okay.
possible, with the understanding that they would not be approved until the next meeting, but my intent is to have a draft that would be approved at the next meeting.
Okay.
In light that the applicant may apply for a variant, for an appeal.
Yeah.
And, upcoming
I'll look at them tomorrow.
Me too. And just to clarify, you can't do a minute approval by an email vote. That's not permitted.
I don't think so. I mean, you have to have a quorum, you know, in a meeting. So this is an action during the meeting rather than now. Would you concur with that, Scott, that they need to approve this in a regular meeting?
Yeah, I'd agree, particularly if they haven't been reviewed. If they've been reviewed and they were just, you know, non-substantive, you know, typos, things like that, then that would be one thing. But if they haven't been reviewed, you should be reviewing them at a public meeting.
Okay, Scott, in light of that, is there a period of time by which these minutes have to be approved for? Because if this particular case that we've just discussed chooses to go forward, I'm not sure they can go back to the council anyway in this particular case anymore, but you know, we can't have them saying, you know, they didn't have the minutes to reference because we didn't get our minutes done in time.
Right. I mean, ideally they would be, you know, approved tonight at the next meeting, but if not, you know, draft meeting minutes have been brought to, you know, to the council previously.
Okay. I just don't want to have it where they go, well, we're appealing and too bad we don't have any of those minutes, and that becomes an issue.
I appreciate the comment. I just that's why I need this comments or edits to have as soon as possible so we can have it on the platform.
Great.
And the other thing is there's the recording of it too. You know, we have record of what happened.
Yeah.
In one form or another. So it's not that we're without record.
Okay.
But yes, I would ask everybody to send your edits, comments as soon as possible so I can have a draft that is ready for approval.
Okay, great.
All right.
The Preservation and Sustainability Collaboration, who wants to speak to? It sounds like we've really made a lot of progress and are in good shape.
There's some more correct. Well, there was some. So there were some corrections today, and Carlos, I don't know where we are with that because I didn't hear from Aleka, but I sent back a new wording for that last.
The standard 9 recommendation.
Yeah.
Guideline number 9.
I sent it back to you, and I don't know.
I saw that. Well, there was a email that
and maybe
Mark
I didn't
Jensen
see.
Sent to the Utilities Commission about comments that they provided at their last meeting, particularly 2 of the commissioners there that were making suggestions how to have, be more lenient in some ways, or other comments were like, more technical suggestions, as far as measurement of efficiency and all that. And even a comment that maybe these guidelines were not necessarily in the same field or milieu as the Utilities Commission. But the chair of the Utilities Commission, who was member of the group
Committee.
of commissioners, the committee, yes, is much in support of it, as well as the other member, Carl Bovo. And they really want this move forward. So Kumar made some comments about those comments or responses, basically indicating that the commission's role is very much involved with the design and appearance rather than technical, and that the commission will be very careful in reviewing these, and we have a good record approving these type of applications. Unless there was the comment about guideline number 9 that was a little bit confusing in terms of the location, the preferred location of a building, and actually meant to say, this is what Julie amended this morning, is that the location of the solars on the building rather than the location of the building. So that clarified that guideline number 9 that you see in the draft 8. So
Do you have that? Can I just ask, do you have, let me see if I have it. Do you have that language that I wrote? I just want to.
I have it in an email, but I don't have it in the document.
Okay, let me just see if I have. So yes, I just want to say, echo what Carlos said. So the Utilities Commission really wants us, or 2 members want us to really kind of hone in on these efficiency levels of the solar panels and what we're giving up. And Kumar basically wrote back and said that's not really our purview, and we really don't have that information.
Or expertise.
Yeah. We don't have that expertise or information. It's a little vague, but it's something to consider. So but Carlos, given that those, couple comments, do we know where we're at, or you're still waiting then? You have to wait for Utility Commission?
Right, because they haven't really taken action on this.
Yeah.
And so that's going to happen potentially this coming Friday. So Kumar is addressing the Utilities Commission. Then from what I have observed, the members of the Utilities Commission, they have a high regard for Kumar's, what he has to say about their business. And Kumar is basically, in my opinion, giving them some feedback that it's in favor of adopting or endorsing the guidelines rather than not. And I think that the chair of the commission will have a similar, if not the same, feedback to them. And in my discussions with Kumar, he basically asked me, I was intending to join the meeting, but he said, in a few words, you don't need to be there. I'll take care of this. But I had received an invitation anyway to the meeting to join them. So, and the chair of the commission said, no, Carlos, you can come to, or you can join the meeting. So you don't have to be. So I'm kind of in between these 2 different.
I would just go, Carlos, because you never know what's going to happen.
I'll join the meeting, but I will let Kumar take care of the reins at that point, because basically he's talking to the people that trust him more than ever.
And I have to say one thing about Kumar, that he really seems, from the last, we had this meeting, a Zoom meeting with the head of the Utilities Commission, the head of what's the other one, Carlos?
Environmental Board.
Environmental, yes. And Kumar was really trying to push, the draft 8 through, and he was very supportive. And so that was very nice. So I think it's moving along, just takes a little more time.
And just to note that the 2 members, my understanding that made the comments, are new to the Utilities Commission. So it's understandable that, this is totally new to them as far as preservation is concerned.
May I ask a question, Julie?
Yeah.
What did number 9, what was the intent of number 9? Because every time I read it, I couldn't understand.
It's really that the consideration should be, I wrote this, I'm trying to get it on my computer, what I wrote, but consideration should be given to any reduction in the efficiency levels of the solar panels due to their location. That's it. So like if you see the location of solar panels on the front facing facade and you think like we don't recommend that, and you know the efficiency of them moving to the rear of the house or something like that, which is whatever else, the north elevation, let's say, is much less efficient, then you would just be thinking about that along with all the other standards. So
we
it's just
have it,
part of the whole package, and we added it because the Utilities Commission really wanted something in there that we were thinking about that along with all the other things we're thinking about.
Yeah, well, my
I've
problem is that
considered that in the past. I mean, we generally have already considered
And we
that.
we have thought about them, so we just added it, but the language has changed.
Well, what's funny is that you've already got number 5, which talks about, you know, pulling them away from the edges. Number 4,
yeah,
which talks about putting them on secondary locations. And those are very specific. This one, if you read it, trumps all of them. I mean, this could say, forget everything else. Once we say that reduction in efficiency, you know, should be a criteria, meaning we should give consideration not to reducing the efficiency, then all those others don't matter anymore.
I don't think, I don't read it that way. I think it's just it's number 9. You know, it's just consideration. And then all the others, it's just one more consideration.
Elliot, I mean, we have in several cases before us over the last year,
yeah,
we've asked people that question and we've weighed that in our answer as one, you know, factor we give some degree of weight to. So it's not a change at all.
Well, I'm not sure why that couldn't be incorporated in some of the others that have to do with the location of the units.
Well, they want us to do it when it's not a problem. So why don't we? You know,
yeah,
it's
like I rewrote it and I can't get it off my iPhone, but Carlos.
I can read it for you. There are 2 things that you wrote for number 9. It says, say, consideration should be given to any reduction in the efficiency levels of solar panels due to their location on a building, or consideration should be given to any reduction in the efficiency levels of solar panels due to their location. That's what she's saying.
Either location of a building or location, because they could be on the ground somewhere on the site. So I don't know. Do you want to just pick one, you guys?
I think the impression I have based on the experience we went through, especially with the project that was appealed to the council, is that when the commission made those suggestions to the applicant in so many other words, when they came back, they really didn't say anything about it. They just said, no, this is the way we want them. So I think perhaps in that situation or similar situation, it would be different when we give that information up front rather than the tail end, where they already made the decision, that's the best efficiency for the location, and that's what it is. So if you read the entire document, basically we're just giving a roadmap that will highlight some of the things that the applicant needs to consider before they make a decision.
Yeah.
Of the commission. Now, the commission will have to make a decision knowing that and receiving information about how they make that determination. Hopefully, we will also understand that perhaps in certain circumstances, if we were to change the location of solar panels like we happen to see in one of the recent applications where they told us that if they were going to add more solar panels to the north, that they will increase the number of panels and it would not necessarily match the efficiency. So it was just not feasible to do it in that way. And so the commission, what the commission did is, okay, why don't you rearrange the placing of these panels, the array correctly, so that it would be not, you know, irregular, it would be more rectangular and more in keeping with the roof. And they agreed to do that. So
it's just another, Elliot, you know what, the intent is that you're looking at all of these, and this was something that was important, so.
I think it's the way the present sentence is written is problematic.
What would you recommend?
Well, I think See, you're reading it as, while you're reviewing it, you should also consider the possibility that you might lose efficiency as a result of
Yes, and
not
how, yes.
putting it in the preferred location. And that's a possible consideration. But it doesn't read that way, and that was my problem. You can read
Well,
it.
does everyone else, okay, but we're having that discussion here, so how do the other commissioners feel?
I mean, I don't know what, I'd have to hear or see what you had written. Carlos read them, but I didn't write them down.
Okay,
I'll forward that to you, this email from Julie.
Well, we should just all write something and get it back to you, so.
why don't you just take,
Up to 8, my God.
I mean, look, this is gonna, I really would like everyone to, we need some, I wanna just say this, we need something like this, okay? So we can keep moving forward. If you feel it's too broad, there's, there are many of these guidelines that, you know, we said we don't want them on the primary elevation, but if they are on the primary elevation, then do this. So, you know, it's broad and there's many, you know, and so every commissioner has to look at all of them and make their decision about their choice and if you're putting something through. So I would encourage you to like, just, we need something like this. So if you don't like the language and you want to change it, but it is one consideration. That's what I said. So we should do it quickly, I think.
Yeah.
If people
I
have
sent
comments.
an email to all. One more thing I just would like to say. We talk about this at the group, and also I believe I mentioned that to, no, I did mention that to the Utilities Commission and the Environmental Board. These are not going to be incorporated into the ordinance as the standards for this would be a part of the rules and procedures that the commission has total control on amending the language. So by saying that, some of the response I got was that it would be a good idea to keep a record of the projects that the commission will review within the next year. How many applications were submitted, how many were approved or denied, and have a record to see how it's working. If it's not working, it may mean that we need to change some of the language. If it's working, perhaps we still should look at the language and see that's the direction we want to go. So these are just, like we said, guidelines. They're not imposing anybody to do nothing that will change the character of the buildings. But we're trying to encourage people to not see preservation as an obstacle to the project they have. It's something that we're trying to have a positive image out there. And so far it's been, in my opinion, positive despite some of the comments we heard. But overall, I would say 90% is very positive. So we are in that vein where we seem to have a positive impact, even with the industry, when they make comments about it.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So Carlos, I'm sorry, there are 2 different versions of that formulation that Julie had written, and we're supposed to.
Yeah,
I wrote it both.
I forwarded to all of you a few seconds ago, so you should be able to read them. That would be number 9 that we're talking about, the last one.
Yeah, just know that like if the location, because you could put them if you had a big piece of property in your backyard, not on the building. Just,
okay,
it could be there.
Great. All right, Carlos, are there any other items of business to discuss?
I happened to receive an email today, and I forwarded that to you and Scott from Ken Hazlett, who actually is interested, and I believe he will apply for appointment to the commission. The architect that we talk about today, I will do revisions with the window. So he's been an architect in our community for many years, since I remember starting working for him, and it's always been very sympathetic to preservation. And the last big job he did was for the Japanese consulate. He restored their garden walls and also a shed that is towards the back that is visible, but he was very sensitive about it. So I hope that the mayor would consider his application. I recommended that he, in addition to applying for an appointment, that he probably write a short letter to the mayor to kind of express his experience and how he contribute to.
What happened to the other? I know we've got 2 already.
Well, I just know that they had Jonathan application. I asked the mayor's assistant if he would be appointed. The response was that the mayor is looking for diversity. And then with addition to ask for the application from Stuart Cohen. So I assume that he submitted that. So potentially we will have 3 people waiting for the response from the mayor.
Waiting for the 3 slots to open up in 2
There,
months.
there are 5 total.
There will be 5 if we don't have more appointments.
Right.
We discussed, Scott and Carlos and I discussed this today, and I'm going to send an email to the mayor, explaining that we have 5 open slots, that we would welcome diversity, but we also, number 1, we'll need some people appointed soon, and number 2, in addition to diversity, we need architectural expertise, particularly to replace the incredible architectural expertise we're going to lose over the next 7 or 8 months.
Look at them. She's already smiling because she's thrilled to be leaving.
No, I'm still going to hang around in a different fashion.
Every Tuesday when you see this extra name in the corner on those meeting, she's listening in on your meeting.
No, I'm not.
I can log on.
Just add something important in my mind is that Susie Reinhold and Julie have conducted another session looking at the completeness of applications. So
good.
I think that helped tonight's meeting move it forward. And some of the applications where they submitted the rear elevations or the details of windows and things like that, the applicants were more than willing to do it. And none of them was negative in the response to how come I had to do that. They all say, okay, if you need it, you'll have it. So we have a sort of a goal to do this earlier than later. So as soon as I get the applications, whether they're complete or not, I will just send them to them. And instead of me trying to get everything ready and then send it to them. So we have a date for that. And it will be at least a couple of weeks before the meeting when we will review these applications. And Julie's saying that she will continue as a volunteer doing that.
Oh, I'm the volunteer.
Right. You're going to volunteer. That's what your intention is, correct, Julie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Julie's going to volunteer to continue reviewing these things?
Yeah.
Forever?
No, I don't know. It's because Susie and I are like a really good team.
Really helpful.
Very efficient, right?
We are very efficient. And Carlos, I just wanted to say that you did a very good job with the little time that you had for these applications.
Yes.
You really got a lot of the added information in there.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate that. It made this process a lot easier.
Absolutely.
I get the extra push I need from you guys. So I feel the responsible that I need to respond to your requests, and it works, and that's important.
You
and
did
also,
a nice
by the
job.
way,
Thank you.
Scott also participates, and he also gives us good ideas how to proceed in
He does. Thank you, Scott.
And he's a good page turner.
We each have a bunch of things we're, between minutes and the solar language we should attend to in the next couple of days. But when we adjourn and
Okay.
leave, it's late enough. So all in favor of adjourning? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
9:34 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Scott.